following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the HighLowSports podcast. We appreciate you all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it's one of your favorite places to check out podcasts later in the week. And we got ourselves quite the show today. It is DJ, not joined by my co-host Kelsey this time. He is off. He's off saving the world, saving lives, and hanging out with wives, doing his thing right now. But he'll be back with us next week as well. Right now, he's enjoying himself. But today, we got our NFL Combine preview and prediction special. We're going to be taking a look at all things related to the NFL Combine, predictions, players sitting out, players we expect to go off, players that maybe won't necessarily go off, but it might not just matter, and a little bit of everything in between. But I have no fear, you won't have to listen to just my voice the entire time. We did bring on a special guest. We brought in the fearless leader of the Kornerbooth, great value Dan Campbell, the loudest Eagles fan that I know, and easily the NFC East and 49ers fans' least favorite human on the planet Earth, and the host of the Kornerbooth pregame on Thursday nights. We had Jared Clem from the Kornerbooth. Jared, welcome aboard, good sir.
What's going on, man? Dude, that was a great intro. I'm proud of you. That was very Kornerbooth-esque right there. A little McAfee flair. I love it.
You just like, because I got you and Dan Campbell in the same sentence.
Well, listen, I love MCDC. He's my second favorite head coach in the NFL currently. He's probably my favorite human that's not a football. He's probably my favorite human as a football coach. Thing is, it's weird when when your favorite coach is actually the coach that coaches your team. Mm-hmm. Like, I liked Doug Peterson. The last football coach I've loved who's coached my team is Andy Big Red, because you can't hate Big Red, obviously. Chip Kelly, I wanted to hit with a whack-a-mole hammer. Same. And yeah, I've only had 4 coaches ever as an Eagles fan. It's been weird, but that being said, I was too young to remember the pre-Andy Reid years. So that being said, I love Nick Sirianni. I love the fact that every other fan base in the world fucking hates him. It makes me so happy. But Dan Campbell is one of my favorite humans of all time, because we all grew up with a Dan Campbell. We all played football with a Dan Campbell. And the fact that a man like that's a football coach makes me so fucking happy at this level.
He's the coach we all wanted. He has the right combination of teaches you, reams you when necessary, but doesn't go overboard like high school when they throw a chair at you. But at the same time, he's not a pushover where it's like, what are we even doing here? He's found that
exactly
both, and he's perfect with biceps the size of most of his players' heads too, to get the point across just in case needed as well. But today we're going to talk about something I know Dan Campbell holds near and dear as well too. We're talking NFL Combine, and for this show, it's going to be brought to you by SeatGeek. Use code BellyUpSports, $20 off your first order to get any tickets, maybe to the Combine if you're going to try and show up at the last minute, or anything in between from concerts and sporting events. And we're going to go and start by looking at those who are not necessarily participating. So far, a few guys that aren't good. We already know Caleb Williams, he's not going to throw. Jay Daniels not going to throw. Drake May, it looks like he's not going to throw. I don't know if those two are going to work out. Maybe they run the 40, do the bench press or something. I'm not sure yet. Marvin Harrison Jr. is not doing any of the drills or even a pro day, doesn't it look like? It looks like he's just training for football as well. It looks like there'll be a few others. Cooper DeJean's not going to run or do field drills necessarily as well. So handful of guys not going out there. And I'll go and just start with what I think. Marvin Harrison Jr. has absolutely no business going out there, because there's nothing he can do to help his stock out there. People think he's going to run a 4.3 as it is. So if he runs a 4.41, people are going to say, oh my God, he's not as fast. Malik Neighbors ran a 4.3. Somehow that's going to hurt, even though they didn't watch the man nicknamed Maserati Marv glide up and down Big Ten fields. There's nothing he can do to help out there. Oh, he catches the ball. We know that. Caleb Williams and Jaden and Drake not throwing. I get it. The top quarterbacks really never throw. It's kind of a weird thing that's gone on for years. I just like to see when they do it, just because it's fun. Like when CJ Stroud did it last year, seeing him actually put the ball on people's chests with the guys he's never thrown to. I feel like it always helps. You got to see, I want to see them let it fly too. I want to see Caleb Williams throw that fade ball at the end of the drills where he goes 65 yards down the field, followed by Drake May doing. I want to see them back to back to back letting it fly. So I get it, but at the same time, selfishly, I want it. And then Cooper DeJean not running. I get it, because if he runs a 4.5, you're like, nope, safety. His whiteness came through, moving him to safety. He can't help himself, unfortunately, unless he runs a 4.3, which I don't think he's going to do. So I get them. As much as I selfishly want to see it all, I get these ones for the most part. There's none of them that I look at like, really? You're not working out? Why?
I'm interested. You know, the thing is, like, it kind of makes me sad because I want another Deion Sanders moment, like when Troy Apke ran like a 4.49 or a 4.33, whatever the fuck it was. And Cooper DeJean on tape looks fast, but I don't know if he's 40 time fast or he's game fast. Because that's the difference. And it's like, well, then again, some guy, I didn't Byron Murphy run like an absolute shit 40 time, and now he's still a pro. And you have other guys who ran with like a bad ham. I've heard of guys who ran with like a bad hamstring and still cranked out a 4.5, which is insane to me. But I think, CJ Stroud should be the kind of the kind of the lead last year, right? He went into the combine, he threw, he was incredible, and we've been, as much as your co-host likes to go into his imaginary bag of stories, I've been banging the drum for CJ Stroud since I watched him light up Georgia last year in the playoff. And I said, okay, this kid's far and away the best quarterback. And then at the combine, I watched about 10 minutes, and that 10 minutes was CJ throwing balls. So like you said, basically guys he's known like you and me, just throwing them and hitting, and not like within a range or behind him. He's hitting him in the chest. Right. It was a show. So if I'm Jaden Daniels or I'm Drake May, I'm getting out there and I'm slinging the rock.
Drake May, especially considering there's questions with his accuracy and missed throws that have come to light a lot the last few weeks. Like he's been put through the ringer recently.
And Merrill Hodge, who I always, whatever he says when it comes to quarterback evaluations, is kind of generally the same direction I lean, because we were both right about CJ Stroud, we're both right about Johnny Manziel. I thought Johnny Manziel at least the last one more season, but like I've usually hit it pretty good with quarterbacks. I usually don't miss in that. So as I watch more tape as we get out of the combine into free agency season and we go to the Kornerbooth draft special, which is, I believe, in April, early April. I can't remember, honestly.
But draft special, everybody, wink, wink.
Oh, yeah. Gee, I wonder which 3-4 guys are going to be on that one.
Maybe more. Stay tuned, everybody. Teaser alert. Woohoo.
Woohoo. There you go. I'm setting on my whole rig. So like last year when Dan was hosting, I didn't have to like fucking check the screen to what the fucking draft was, then react to it. Now I actually have it up. But I just have Ari Mirov on notification, so I know even before ESPN does. So that being said, though, I feel like DeJean isn't helping his case either by not running. Whereas, like, if he showed up and ran like a 4.4 flat, or even a 4.45, everyone's like, oh, this dude can fucking move. Like, that's crazy. But I don't know. It's a weird predicament a lot of these guys are in. But then again, some guys aren't built for like Darius Hayward-Bay got a top 7 draft pick basically off of his 40 time. So there's a lot of guys like that. And there's going to be a couple guys like that this year who are going to kind of flap the draft board. So it's going to be interesting. But then again, like, there's always going to be that one guy who blows away the combine and is just absolute ass when he gets drafted. So.
Oh, guaranteed. And they're going to go early as well. There's always a few guys that light the combine on fire.
I got a few ideas, but we'll get closer to free agency. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely. We'll be talking a little bit of that coming up as well. And speaking of some of those guys, I feel like everybody can help themselves. The anomaly is Marvin Harrison. He's like the only guy in the last few years I could think of that has absolutely nothing to gain at the combine, really. I think everyone else you can make a case for over the last few years. Like, they could do something there that will help them. He's the only one. Unless he pulls a Chris Olave and pulls a 4.29 that no one expected out, I don't see how what can really change. Everyone's already expecting to be AJ Green with a 4.3. So that's the only one. The rest of them, Caleb Williams, I guess, too. But I really wanted to see Drake May throw just to put some of those accuracy and things behind it. If he throws a few of those dimes, and we know he has an arm strength, I want to see that on full display. We talked about how he couldn't. North Carolina sucked last year. Like, team-wise, there was not a lot around him. They had a few games of Tez as a receiver, but other than that, not a lot. I want to see him let it fly to Malik Neighbors. I want to see him let it fly to Brian Thomas. I want to see what it looks like. Overthrow them, underthrow them, whatever. If you throw it 70 yards.
Tez Walker is a different. The thing is with Tez Walker, he's Quez Watkins 2.0 to me. This kid is he's Quez Watkins with a Power 5 label. Yeah. 6'2", 6'3", ridiculous vertical. Absolute freak show straight ahead speed wise, deadly with the ball in his hands, has some drop issues. Everyone's like, I love Tez Walker. I love Tez Walker. I've been watching the same receiver play slot for the Eagles the last 4 years. So that's kind of, but then again, it's like, I don't know, Tez, he's another one of those. But like, can I say something about Drake May? I kind of wanted to talk about this today, and I forgot to put it in your notes. As somebody who got to watch May in person, like a lot as a ACC football fan, what really stuck out to me was yes, a lot of quarterbacks struggle when you blitz them up the middle. But, dude, Miami was in his grill, and we weren't even supposed to be on the same field as North Carolina. And we shouldn't have been. But that Miami pass rush was wreaking havoc. And it wasn't just Miami's. It happened multiple games where North Carolina should have blown them away. And that was partially the reason why they collapsed towards the end of the season. We were talking in October about them being one of the best teams in college football, best teams in the ACC, possibly even like a not playoff team, but like a New Year's Six bowl team. And they fell off. And now, obviously, a lot of, and we thought when they got Tez Walker, it was over. Oh, these guys are finally in now. They got the replacement for Josh Downs. But one thing, and Merrill Hodge did bring this up, you see when he gets rushed, the accuracy dips off. When he's got a clean 5-step drop, man, he could put it anywhere on the field. But when he's got guys coming up the middle or guys rolling off the edge, and there's chaos developing around them, I'm not really sold on his accuracy. But then again, DJ, I was talking to Josh Muller about this after Belly Up After Dark last week. No quarterback in this class does not have at least one red flag.
Oh yeah, they all have some. Like
everyone at least has one, if not two. And that this is, but unlike last year or the year, unlike what was it 2 years ago with Malik Willis and all them dudes, where they were just red flags, and you're looking if they have a green flag or not. This is a little different. Or the Kyler Murray draft, where it was Kyler Murray and a bunch of
Daniel Jones.
Rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. But yeah, so that's my point though. There were like a lot of these guys were like everyone thought the Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence draft was going to be like all these generational talents. The last good draft quarterback class we've had is 2020 with Hurts, Burrow, and Tua. Herbert. I'm sorry, I forgot about. I meant to say Herbert over Tua. Let's strike that from the record. But yeah, you have 5 quality starting quarterbacks in one class, or 4,
5, because you got Jordan Love too.
Yeah, Jordan Love. So yeah, 5 quality starting quarterbacks. So there you go. And we haven't had a quarterback class like that since. We probably won't for a while. Everyone's saying this is going to be it. I'm not seeing it. Let's go down the list quick, right? So Caleb Williams, immaturity and lack of ability to make plays from the pocket, right?
I think he makes plays better from the pocket. I think we saw more of it the previous year. I think it's a little overblown. He's clearly more Russell.
That's the right word for it.
But there's clearly some flags there as far as like instruction taking layups, for lack of a better terms. He has a little bit of that Carson Wentz that you and I both know too well, where sometimes
or he hit somewhere.
Yeah, like sometimes he'll give up a slant to try and heat it 40 yards, which when you have USC's defense, that makes sense. You guaranteed we're giving up 40, so you try to score 50 every play.
The Pacific Passing League died how it lived, slinging the rock. Jaden Daniels, my biggest red flag is I'm not completely sold on him as a passer. I think he's great. I think he's better than a lot of the guys in this class. But also the other thing that bothers me is he's so fucking reckless and so skinny how he runs, man. He's Lamar's size, but he runs like Jalen Hurts. And it's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. He runs reckless. Like Hurts is built like a fullback. That's why I don't really worry about when he runs through a cornerback, because I'm like, okay, like he's 220 pounds and squats a house. That's fine. But Jaden Daniels is just fast.
I say Jalen Hurts is Mike All-Star with a tan, basically. Jalen Hurts on
the shaved his goatee yesterday, man. It don't look right.
Exactly. And I agree with Jaden Daniels. I think what's weird about him is normally when you think of those athletic freak quarterbacks, they're known as really fast and having the rocket arms. You look at Anthony Richardson, Lamar, Cam. He doesn't really have a rocket. You look at him.
He's got like a Colt McCoy arm where it's like, it's not bad.
He's got an NFL arm. It's just not freaky, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, he's gonna hit everything inside of 45 yards.
But he's weirdly good with ball placement. Like the amount of times he put the ball where Malik Neighbors could run after the catch, Brian. So he's a weird anomaly of an athlete that runs straight ahead faster than everybody. Maybe doesn't elude people, not like Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray eluding people, but straight line. Jaden Daniels is toasting people, and he's putting the ball perfectly in play in those.
He reminds me of a more wiggly RG3.
I can see that. Like maybe less arm strength too, because RG could rip it, but like
RG could rip it, but RG, you never saw him like press it past 50. It was always inside the 50 throws that he would hit.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then again, also Shanahan's offense, I don't think they believe in any throws past 20 yards. So and then you go down to the red flag palooza, which is past obviously we talked about Drake May, with the accuracy, the ability, the problems he has issues when he gets rushed up the middle, arm strength questions. Then you go to Bo Nix, mature, like he's played 12 years of college football. Me and Josh argued about this where I don't like how he automatically aims for a check down when he's got a guy on a crossing route who's about to blow and open for 40 yards. Half his offense was, hey, throw this ball inside. He had a Miami Dolphins offense. Throw this ball inside of 10 yards, let the athletes make the runs and throws for you.
30% of his passes were within 5 yards, which is, like you said, a little concerning. It's like, all right, 30%, that's a lot. He can make those throws, which bugs me because he can make those. I've seen him rip that seam route against cover 3 multiple times. He can do it. He just I think it's Oregon's offense because everything we were saying about Drake May, we said about Justin Herbert. Everything we're saying about Bo Nix, a lot of we said about Justin Herbert coming out too.
Yeah,
so I think
also Herbert's was. I was a fan of Herbert's the second I watched him in the Senior Bowl.
We were because we were intellectuals. I'm talking about the same.
Even my father, who is not a college football fan by any stretch, he's sitting there watching the Senior Bowl with me, and he goes, "Who's that kid number 10?" I'm like, "Oh, you mean that 6'6" animal who's ripping the ball at 55 miles an hour and putting it into seams about that big? Oh yeah, that's whoever the second smartest team in football is going to pick him up." And it clearly wasn't the Miami Dolphins. But
the Colts to get him, but instead they took DeForest Buckner. But the same thing they say about Drake, man. I think
he's a monster.
I think Bo Nix is a first-round pick. I just don't think he's a top 10 pick. I think he's a consolation quarterback where you get Alex Smith and you build around him. You have something to go.
I like that. Alex Smith with a little better. Alex Smith with a better arm. That's Bo Nix to me.
Exactly.
That's a ceiling.
A souped-up Alex Smith. Alex Smith after 20 years of sports science, basically 20 years of updated.
I would say he's Alex Smith, but instead of like a V6 Mustang, he's a GT 500.
That'll work. That's perfect. Like I think he's Alex Smith with that little bit of extra juice if needed. Does he get to use it? Does he use it properly? We'll see. But like
Penix is basically lefty, more arm, less run. Russell Wilson. That's what he is.
I also weirdly see a lot of two in him, not just because of leftiness, but the weirdly like college two, where they can put the ball where they need to go. I like Penix's arm better.
So
but
Tua mixed with Russell, maybe a kind of a hybrid of the two of them.
Tua Wilson or Russell Tagovailoa, like he's got a little bit of I think so. Mike,
no, I mean, but like Mike's biggest problem is he's like Jaden Daniels is just like he's skinny. He takes hits,
and he has the biggest red flag of them all, as he has had 4 season-ending injuries in college.
Oh, he's like the Marcus Lattimore of quarterbacks.
Exactly. And if he didn't have the injury concerns and played like one less year of college football because of the injuries, I think he's a top 10 pick. I think everything about him looks good, except those injuries concerns. It's like, how good is he if you only get him for 7 games a season?
You know, everyone talks about Hendon Hooker and how like he got like Hendon Hooker. We knew he only was good because it was his 5th year. Like Joe Milton came in and still threw the same amount of bombs he did. Joe Milton's going to the 8th round because he's the accuracy of a shotgun with a 2-inch barrel. So
yeah, he's so erratic. My goodness, when he throws the ball, I'm not even in the stadium and I'm ducking, so I'm scared I'm going to get hit.
My best reaction was when Mason went to go see that game between Clemson and Tennessee. And he goes, "Jared, it's like watching an artillery crew launch footballs because you just see it go." And you're like, "Holy shit!" Like he's got like a Josh Allen, Cam Newton arm. But he's got the accuracy of New England Patriots Cam Newton.
Just all over the post.
Like, or Vikings Donovan McNabb, where you're just like, where the fuck was he throwing that football?
When he throws it, it has the arm strength of a quarterback, but the accuracy of a receiver on a reverse pass. It's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, where is that going? My goodness.
I watched him in the Senior Bowl. He missed a check down by 5 yards, and my head just went into my pillow. I'm like, oh my God. I thought this kid Milton was going to be a special piece, but he just dropped off. And then like, all right, so we'll start with the last one. The king of red flags himself, JJ McCarthy. I don't understand where his high draft grade is coming from. Maybe you can elaborate this. I've not watched enough tape on him. I've only watched about maybe an hour of tape on him, not counting live games. What am I missing here that these NFL scouts are overreacting to?
I will preface it by saying I haven't dove deep into the tape study that I like to do before I do big boards, ranking stuff like that. I wait till after the combine before I get into him. But just from like the pre thing with JJ, I have him as like QB 6 or 7, so I'm not the one to ask either. I see.
Thank you.
Let him sit a year, half of the year, whatever. I think he could develop into a really good quarterback. He could develop. But if you're taking him at 12, like Denver, something like that, he's 21, so I see the development thing. But unless he's about to run a 4.5 and sling that thing 75, 80 yards, I see a very limited. I don't know.
He's Paxton Lynch with an all-pro offense around him. It's just
that's a pretty good way to put it, actually. Like there's just I don't know. Everyone says like, oh, he only had limited opportunities, so he had to when he had to make a play, he had to. He didn't have makeup throws. They all pro team around him. You hand the ball off 40 times, you didn't have to worry about it. You only had to make a play a game. You didn't have to carry the team like Caleb, Drake, and Jaden did. If they had a bit of a rough game, they were toast. They couldn't just hand it to Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards for 200 yards.
Both are absolute animals at running back. Yeah, but I feel like we're missing.
I agree with you. I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't like. There's every year. I feel like this is the Mel Kiper pick, where like there's that one random white quarterback that just flies up the draft board for no fucking reason. Here it's JJ McCarthy.
Exactly. They say scouts love him more than the rest of us do, and you know what? Maybe they see something we don't, but I haven't seen it yet. But there's one other quarterback we haven't talked about yet. I'm gonna skip ahead really quickly, and we'll circle back to. I think he's gonna have a really good combine, and I actually have him as a top 5 quarterback in the class. I'm looking at Spencer Rattler right now, and I think he has a lot to like there. He's a little short at like 6 foot, 6'1", 210, but he's been really, really accurate since going Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler, absolutely not. That was terrible.
He needed a reality check.
And I think he got that. And at South Carolina, he's been accurate. He's been poised in the pocket. Everything we talked about Drake May, like how good is he when you have nothing surrounding you? You say the same thing about South Carolina. They're not exactly a haven for talent either. He stands in the pocket. He delivers. He's still got a whip. I'm not saying you take him first round, but you're putting him in that category with all those other second round guys.
He's a solid 3rd round pick to me. Like like a guy like where they like drafted Russell Dak, like he has the potential to be like that 2nd, 3rd round. Like, oh, okay, we got a guy in the 3rd round. Okay.
He feels a lot like Raiders Derek Carr for me before that ankle injury, where they take him the 2nd round. He has a lot of those underrated skill sets, but no one wanted to take him. And then suddenly he comes out cooking a little bit. This is before Derek Carr broke his ankle and kind of fell apart and started getting his receivers arrested. But I do think
tore his groin off the bone, all that other shit.
Yeah, and I think that's where I think he could be similar to that as well. So I'm looking forward to him. I think he's going to put on a pretty good show at the Combine. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people there as well. Which before we get into some of those sneaky good ones, I already spoiled it. We're going to look at some of the high-ranked prospects that we expect to test well. These are guys that are already expected to go 1st, 2nd round, something along those lines. But we expect them to have we expect them to match what we see in the Combine. Maybe guys that are supposed to go in the 1st round, and now they're going to go top 10. I'll go and start with one that I'm looking at. I'm looking at Nate Wiggins, the corner from Clemson. He's already a 1st-round pick for the most part, 6'2", about 200. I think he's going to run like a 4.29. I think he's going to be. I think he might be the fastest corner that runs. He could be. I don't know about CJ2K Watch trying to break that 40, but I think he's going to glide and he's going to. Chris Ballard's going to nut in his pants when he sees the RAS score on Nate Wiggins, and the Colts are probably going to take him if he's there because of that. But I think he's going to light up the combine, 40-yard dash, broad jump. Assuming nothing gets pulled, I think Nate Wiggins is going to put on an absolute show.
You know what's crazy is that I think I watched Nate Wiggins live. He's a great corner, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of like a shorter DRC where he can just run and move with anybody. I just worry about how much of a beating he can take from like a physical receiver like a Nico Collins or an AJ Brown, where they just shove him off and just run a route. But one guy who I think is I would say he's a top prospect, but I think this dude also, because he has the most viral clip of Matthew McConaughey saying his name, is Xavier. I think it was not Xavier McKinney. What's his Xavier Worthy out of Texas, dude. My boy's projected to run a 4.29 as a projection. Yeah, I watched him run against Alabama. I was like, holy shit, that dude can move, man.
You can see on my list, the next one on my list was the Texas boys, including Worthy, Mitchell, and all of them. So I agree that I think Worthy's
that whole team could fucking move, man. I love watching Texas this year, which also maybe is why they want what's his face? Quinn Ewers went back for one more season to throw to slower receivers so he could get his accuracy up. Because I feel like I've played enough adult league flag and like flag football in my life, competitive, actual playing as quarterback, where I realized that time I had 2 receivers that ran sub 4.4s when I was back pre-COVID. DJ, it's a different kind of feel, man. I can throw a whip route and he can take it for 80 yards. It's just a different kind of offense. I got lazy. I could just say, hey, fuck it. Hey, Mike, run a stop and go. I'm going to take a 5-step drop and roll to the right if there's pressure. And he goes, okay. And I literally have 3 seconds to get rid of that football because he's almost, I think my longest throw I hit was 61 yards and I almost threw my shoulder out doing it. He's literally at the 50-yard marker and I'm at the back of my drop and I'm like, crap, I got to get rid of this thing. So it's a different kind of thing. And those boys at Texas were so quick it's maybe why Quinn Ewers went back for one more season. There's a lot of fast receivers this year. Rowan Wilson out of Michigan, I think, is going to help himself a lot. I want to see Dunze run. I don't know if he's going to, because they've been talking about his name a lot as like a top receiver. And I'm like, I kind of want to see what this boy runs a 40. If he runs like a 4.4 flat or like even like a 4.42, I'm like, all right, you know what? He's worth it because his ability, his physicality, his ball after the catch strength is worth it.
Honestly, if he runs a 4.5 for me, I'm good. It's if he gets in like the high 4.5s, I get worried. Just the way he's a handful for the corners on the outside. He bullies them. He attacks the ball so well. If he's a 4.5-ish, I'm okay with it too. If he runs a 4.42, something like that, you might even put him in the neighbors. You might even put him above neighbors, depending.
There's one other dude I just thought of, Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. I want to see if this dude starts freaking moving, then we have to have a conversation about he's got to be like the top 2 or 3. He might be up there catching Wiggins. Like, thing is, they were talking about like obviously you have Teron Arnold and stuff out of Alabama who are also going to be up there, but they were talking about it in one of the, I think it was NFL Network. I had it on before, and they were talking about like this kid like could be they had him projected to go to Philadelphia. I think on CBS's big board. I was like, I watched this kid's tape for 5 minutes. I'm like, sold.
Same. In the same boat.
I had to watch James Bradbury all of last year, who basically is like watching me covering a receiver. So like, sold. Ever since the Sauce Gardner experiment, where everyone and Tariq Woolen, where they're like, guys, you don't have to go to a big school to be a good corner. You just have to be a good corner. I think this proves it right there, and I think this kid is going to be a monster. But the fact of the matter is, if he even runs like a sub 4.4, like his draft stock is going to be up through the roof.
Like, I know I jokingly said that Chris Ballard was going to nut in his pants at Nate Wiggins. He might do the same with Quinyon Mitchell. If they're both there, Chris Ballard might short circuit, considering he doesn't.
They need like other things besides that. Offensive line help to keep the quarterback from dying.
Yeah, you know how he is. He's an RAS freak. He's all he cares about is RAS. So we'll have to see. But I will also throw in, just going down the list, I do think AD Mitchell is going to surprise people. Maybe not with the 40, but I think watching him run the routes, how smooth he's going to be and how he glides on those, I think he's going to show off a lot for that. Mitchell, the tight end as well, or sorry, not Mitchell, Sanders, the tight end. I think he's going to tear up the 40-yard dash. But I'm going to look at Chop Robinson, the edge out of Penn State. Everything about him, and I'm using the helmet to helmet comparison here, feels like a Dafe Owe to me. I think there's a lot of skill set things that want to be worked on, like hands, movement, pass rush moves, that sort of thing that need to be ironed out. But he's going to run like a 4.4. He's going to outrun a lot of these receivers. He's probably going to have incredible short line speed in like the shuttle. He's probably going to bench press pretty well. He's going to look really good moving on the field when they do those open field drills. I think he's going to make a lot of money for himself. He's going to find himself maybe into a late first round pick, maybe even to like the Ravens or someone like that. That's going to look at him back. Oh, I can mold that piece of clay. They're going to get enamored with the athlete and think they could turn into a Khalil
Mack. I can fix him, Daddy.
Every single time. You've heard the same song and dance every single year. So I do think he's a good player. I just think that combine is going to propel him from a second-day pick to a first-round pick.
I only make that joke because I swear to God, both my ex-girlfriends said that about me. So I'm going to stick with a similar theme. Dude, those two edge rushers at the top of the board, Dallas Turner and Jared Verse. I watched Jared Verse fuck up my quarterbacks for the last 4 years, or three, whenever how long you played, because I remember hearing his name for the last 2. Dallas Turner, I was told by every Alabama fan, dude, he's just as good as Will Anderson. I'm like,
higher ceiling, maybe better athlete for sure, but I don't know about.
Yeah, but like there's a difference between like listen, Jadeveon Clowney's an incredible athlete, but Calais Campbell's a better edge rusher. Like there's a difference between being a great. You can be an amazing athlete, like JPP, phenomenal athlete back in the day, right? Trent Cole, better edge rusher. That's what it is. So like, there's a difference. I think you have to have a balance of technique and athleticism. Whereas like a lot of these guys, they just look for the freak athletes, especially in the draft and the combine. But I want to see if one of them runs like a ridiculous 40 time. Like we get another Nolan Smith like last year.
If someone does that, then someone's going to lose their mind and take him early. I think Verse is a better edge, like a power rusher too. Like if he runs a good 40 to go with him, it's like, oh, snap, he might
I
crack him.
think they just want to avoid like a Derek Barnett situation where like the guy ran like a 4.79. Everyone's like, red flag, Philly. We'll take him anyway.
That's gonna be. I'm curious to see where they go. Because normally edge rusher is something you see as a premium like top 10 type of pick, but both it doesn't feel like they're being projected that up there as well. Maybe one sneaks into Atlanta, but
because there's 3 good edge rushers in free agency.
Exactly, and none of them feel Myles Garrett.
One thing I stress every year to people when they're doing their mock drafts, nobody listens to me. I've said it for the past 7 years. I've been doing mock drafts. 6 at Belly Up. Never do a mock draft before free agency because your team's going to tell you how 80% of the time a team's going to tell you what they're doing based off free agency. Like, so let's say Philadelphia in free agency goes out and gets a corner and gets and like throws an extension at Riddick and goes and gets a slot receiver, right? I'm telling you right now, their position they're getting the first round is corner, second round safety, third round left tackle, right tackle, backup. I can guarantee I will put money on it right now if that's how it goes. But that's how the team's going to draft, right? Texans, they go get a receiver in free agency. They go get a running back. They're going to do nothing but defense the entire draft with maybe one lineman. And that's it. So teams kind of there's exceptions like when the Saints went and signed Adrian Peterson and then went and drafted Alvin Kamara. So like there's exceptions to the rule because we didn't think they were going to do it. Also, when the Texans, I think they re-signed Lamar Miller, but then also drafted Devonta Foreman. So there's different, ironically, same draft class. There's different layers to this, I guess. But a lot of the time, teams will kind of tell you how they're leaning based off of the draft strategy, free agency strategy.
100%. If you can't get that big fish, then maybe try and draft the big fish and sign some of the other ones as well. But we talked about the guys we expect to do good. Now we're going to go to some surprise combine performance. Some guys that we think maybe not first round guys, but someone that can surprise everybody a little bit, maybe fly up the draft boards a little bit. I already mentioned Spencer Rattler for one. The other one I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go right to your school. We're going to go to Miami. I'm looking at James Williams. Not even Kitchens. We're looking at that other safety. 6'5", 220. Pretty decent in movement, very good coverage skill. He's stuck in that tweener of is he going to be a linebacker or a safety? He's a little raw. He's got some work. They got some work to do. He's got some stuff to work on. But if he runs it, I think he could run a good 40. Like he looks like he can scoot a little, like a 4.
I watched him live this year for the first time, actually in person. He can get sideline to sideline. He's quick. Now, my pick was Cam Kitchens because I think he's the best safety in this class. And yet he's going mid to late second round. Like I've seen twice of the projecting going to the Birds. If we get Cam Kitchens, I'm doing a cartwheel down Main Street. Like him or Williams, I'm happy. But then again, like we talked about last year, like one of the best safeties in last year's draft was Sidney Brown. And he went to the third round, fourth round he fell to? Because he was kind of like a shorter version of James Williams, where he's a crash test dummy with coverage skills. But that's like the thing with James Williams. I can tell you this right now. He's going to make some defensive coordinator way too happy.
100%. Someone's going to grab. And I think right now he's projecting like the third, fourth round. I think he's going to have a good combine too. I think he's going to look good if he does the bench press. I think he's going to look good in those open field drills for how big he is seeing him move. He's going to move better than linebacker.
He's a faster Cam Chancellor. That is his ceiling.
Exactly. And that's a pretty good ceiling too. He's going to look way better than all those linebackers. And he's going to run faster than he's going to look more terrifying than the safeties and look more athletic than the linebackers.
He does have a mean streak though, which is what kind of scares me. Because there was a couple times during the season. If you want to go back and watch him at his lowest where he loses all discipline, go watch the Sam Howell game against Miami last 2 years ago, where basically Sam Howell like ran into the end zone and he had an easy chance to stop him on the goal line and stop the bleeding and basically keep Miami in the game or keep the lead. And he goes to try to knock Powell's block off. I mean, I would have done the same thing because fuck Sam Howell. I just don't like him as a play. I've hated him at every level because he's played for teams I hated, right? And then also I just don't like his attitude on the the way he carries himself as a quarterback. But like, I don't like. I respect his game. Obviously, I just don't like the dude personally. So it's like watching James Williams try to knock his block off was crazy. I'm like, dude, like just tackle him and the game's over. And he's just trying to just absolutely kill him. But Williams, honestly, to me, is Cam Kitchens with a little Brandon Merriweather mixed in.
A lot of Brandon Merriweather with that big ass body too. He's gonna scare some people when he comes flying in the open field.
He is an old school enforcer.
Worst, like the floor for him is you put him at gunner and just completely eliminate the idea of punt returns because no one's gonna want to return with that cannonball going 100 miles an hour directly at him. But I think he runs a 4.5 or better. Someone's gonna take him in round 2. They're gonna look at that freakish athletic ability, but I'm gonna have fun with that. He's gonna be our nickel linebacker, and I'm just gonna have him torpedo. I'm gonna have him jam tight ends and then go blitz the quarterback and just good luck outrunning him around the edge. I think they're gonna have a lot of weird fun with him, kind of like what Isaiah Simmons was supposed to be and still kind of is on a flash basis, but not as a top 10 pick like Isaiah Simmons was.
The fact that they spent the 8 pick on him was just hilarious to me. I'm gonna go with the running back out of Louisville only because I watched this dude just crank for them every time I touch the ball. Isaac Garendo, I hope I pronounced that right. I just remember watching him against us, watching them butcher the USC run game and multiple times against other teams, and I believe also knocking off Notre Dame, who has a very good run defense. The kid can freaking move, man, and he runs hard. He's 6'1", 225. He's a big dude. At the running back position, he's kind of gonna be one of those sleeper teams. I feel like he'll kind of have like a Breece Hall workout where you're like, how is a dude this big running this fast? So that's kind of like where I'm at with him. I also obviously brought up X before I kind of prematurely brought that one up. I'm trying to think of any other ones I like. Watch like Joe Milton run like a ridiculous 40 time.
Oh, he's gonna run like a 4.5 or something stupid.
Yeah, it's gonna be something ridiculous. You're like, what? Like what?
Like if only you could throw the ball within the two white sidelines and keep somewhat within the vicinity of a receiver.
I mixed the two running backs up because there's two running backs coming out of Louisville. I like the Isaac because he's a big physical guy. Jawar Jordan is the one that I thought was going to absolutely freaking crank down on his 40. That was the one who broke the long run. I couldn't remember. I forgot there was two running backs. But and look, they even the article I was referencing, Chop Robinson, one of the ones they brought up, like you said.
I swear, for as big as the circle is, sometimes it is very small at the same time. But
listen, that's because great minds think alike. That's how it goes.
Well, then that article is full of great minds, hopefully. But I'm also looking at Chris Jenkins from Michigan as a guy I think is going to fly up the board too. Big, strong defensive tackle. I think 308 pounds. He is so powerful and strong. Everyone knows that name sounds familiar because his dad, Chris Jenkins, was the 5-time Pro Bowler for the Panthers in the 2000s. He plays every bit like him and more. He is an absolute machine at stopping the run. I think he's going to move decently, while not Jordan Davis freakish as far as the athletic drills, but I think he's going to show pretty good ability to move. I think the bench press he's going to put up like 35. I think he's going to show off a lot with the strength. And I think I don't want to say the Cowboys because they just drafted Mozzie Smith in the first round last year. They're not going to fall out of Michigan. They're not going to fall for that again. But I do think some teams that might have had a little issue with the run, they see Chris Jenkins there at the end of the first round, maybe in the second round, they're back, oh, okay, there we go. The inside zone and the A gap, that's taken care of now. Chris Jenkins could be there and just hold the door, but he can hold the door. So I like Chris Jenkins as someone to make people see ghosts, if you will, when they're trying to find the hole.
There you go. He had to stay alive for about 30 seconds.
But yeah, I like him. I'm also going to throw in Roman Wilson, who we mentioned earlier. I think he's going to run a ridiculous 40. I think
he's so damn fast.
He just needs to weigh like 195 pounds. If he could just weigh in at like 195, 200, I think he's going to run. He ran a 4.37 out of high school. Like that's as an 18-year-old. So I imagine he's got to run like a 4.
I thought that was fake when I saw that headline on Twitter. I was like, hey, no way this motherfucker ran a 4.37. Fastest dude I ever saw out of any high school was a kid. A buddy of mine, his cousin was in this high school down in like South Florida. One of the running backs from like a 4.39. And it was like this kid, it was like Ohio State scholarship, like as a corner, because he played both sides of the ball or something like that. And I'm like, ain't no way this motherfucker runs a 4.39. And then I watched him return a kick. I was like, oh my God. It's like watching the Adrian Peterson highlight video where he just accelerates past everybody on the Chargers defense. But yeah, no, that's insane. But Roman Wilson also, I feel like he's gonna be a good complementary piece.
100%. Not a first round guy. I'm thinking like someone takes him in the second round because they see that speed and like, okay, we can throw a drag to him and watch him outrun everybody up the sideline. Like as a speedy second option or a super speedy third option. I think he's gonna have a lot of offensive coordinators gonna have fun with him. Maybe the Chargers take him. That could be something. Maybe reunites with Harbaugh with Justin Herbert's arm strength. Maybe third round.
They haven't had, besides Josh Palmer or even Jalen Guyton, guys who can actually run. Most of the receivers in the Chargers either can drop everything or run like skid routes. So
I'd say like the fastest they've had is Quentin Johnson, who has trouble even catching the ball necessarily. So at that same time, what's the point? And
we need to send him like a sports psychologist.
Something. Although, there's something about Chargers rookies that are up and down. Remember, Melvin Gordon didn't score a touchdown his rookie year. Then out of nowhere, he scored like 18 the next year. Maybe
they also screwed that guy over so bad.
They did.
Also, he should have learned. You never cut your dreads. When you're known from your dreads, when you cut your dreads, you lose your superpowers.
Look at Derrick Henry. He took out the super braid and started doing normal braids. He is not the same this last year. You got to keep what you're known for.
Hey, Derek, when you come to Philadelphia, roll that stupid little thunder braid you do, just as like you and Swifty have your 1-2 punch. That's a terrifying backfield. You just got, hey, where are they going with the tush push? You got Hurts and Henry on the same backfield.
Now, instead of having A.J. Brown, DeAndre Swift pushing, you have Derrick Henry pushing. Great.
You like collectively between him and like, even if let's say Cam Jurgens is the new center, who like also squats a house, there's a collective squatting of an F-150.
What they're going to do is they're going to get tricky and put Derrick Henry at quarterback. He's going to throw a touchdown to Jalen Hurts somehow. They're going to do all the goofiness.
I absolutely love it.
Derrick Henry's touchdown pass streak continues. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. But is there any other sneaky good guys you think might put on a little show of a combine? Or at this point, we're kind of like, let's kind of wait and see at this point.
Yeah, let's kind of wait and see. I like doing sneakiness based after the combine because you're like, oh, who's a freak athlete? It's like, there's a lot of them.
All of them, technically, if we're being
all of them. I'm just also like, I'll just say this one more. I'm just waiting for like, I think like Jaden Daniels run like a ridiculous 40 time on his pro day just to fuck with everybody.
Oh, he's gonna
like
run
he's gonna run like a RG3 level, like a 4.4, like 1.
Yeah, he's gonna turn some heads really quickly. And real quick before we get out of this one, do you have any record breakers you expect? Like with CJ2K's 40 time, Anthony Richardson's broad jump and vertical for quarterbacks, so on and so forth. Do you think anyone breaks any records at the combine this year?
I think Joe Milton is going to break some kind of jump record. That kid's a freak athlete. Another one I like is I think there's going to be somebody who's going to come close to the bench press record this year. One of the defensive tackles. I don't know if it's like a sleeper, like a Leonard Taylor out of Miami, or you're going to get one of the dudes out of Michigan or whoever. It's going to be there. 2 records are going to go this year. I think one of them is going to be a strength record. One's going to be a speed or athleticism record. So we're going to see something fun this year.
Absolutely. I'm going to also go back to Nate Wins. I think he could challenge for that 40 record as well. They were like high projecting, like when they were doing is just lazy times, basically like his unofficial ones. He was already like 4.27 or something like that. What the rumors were.
Dude, I think Wilson can run like a 4.25, like just straight up crank one and just be like, yep, okay, I'm fast.
Like Wilson and Wiggins, maybe they both break CJ2K's record. That would be something if you had not only one person breaks, but 2 break it. Like hopefully they get him an island as well.
CBS Sports, Milton throws the ball 80 yards. I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
It's like we don't know where the ball landed, but it definitely went at least 80 yards. It went outside of our camera.
Are you going to be at the combine this year? Or are you not going this year?
I'm not gonna be able to go this year because it's not just out of my backyard anymore.
Yeah, true. I guarantee one of the belly up boys can be sitting there in the bleachers, just gets clocked with a football. It's like, I got it.
Joe Milton's going to launch that one in the sky, and Kelsey's going to be on his plane home from Kansas City, and it's going to hit the wing, and he's like, oh, geez, and then get a little bit of turbulence on
the land. Just like making the plane kind of sway back and forth.
My goodness. He's going to be fun to watch. I'm glad Joe Milton's I don't want my team to draft him, but he's the perfect.
Watch this kid turns into like the next like late round pick sensation who's like a decent starter.
No, I'm still going to say it's Tyree Jackson all over again. It's going to be fun though. They're going to break us.
Tight end legend Tyree Jackson.
He's
one touchdown catch from Jalen Hurts.
That's all he needed at this. Joe Milton's going to throw an 80-yard touchdown as a starting tight end in the NFL or starting receiver H-back. It's going to be ridiculous. But speaking of all the mock draft stuff we talked about earlier, be sure to check in on our YouTube page every Mondays for Mock Draft Mondays as we continue to go through each week and just kind of run through a mock draft, see what kind of fun we can have, see what kind of trades and other tomfoolery we can come up with leading up to the draft. But that's going to do it for the main event here as we preview the combine. We're now heading to crunch time presented by Outlier. Go to outlier.bet /HighLowSports. Get a free 7-day trial. Get all you need to bet smarter, not harder, whether it be trends, analytics, odds across different sportsbooks, whatever you need to try and win yourself a little money in the wonderful world of sports betting. And all right, Jared, it's crunch time. This is where we have rants, recaps, rankings, hot takes, anything we just want to talk about that wasn't directly related. So the floor is yours as the guest.
So this year I've been getting a lot more into NBA basketball. And I can't say just because my team's finally good for this year. It's like my basketball team has made the playoffs. It will now be 3 years in a row. If you told me 5 years ago that my Timberwolves would make the playoffs 3 years in a row, I would say I'm getting punked, right? There's something wrong here.
Did they expand the playoff to 20?
Yeah, are they bringing everybody in now? Is the play-in team like 4? No, Jared. They're first in the West since when you were in the last time they were first in the West, you were in 3rd grade, and Latrell Sprewell was your second best player. Anthony Edwards is different, and I got in this argument with somebody about who's better, SGA or Edwards. I'm like, SGA scores more points. I'm like, yeah. Ain't nobody else shooting on his roster. You got Josh Giddey's too busy shooting a shot at minors, and you've got B- supporting cast. Just kidding, Josh Giddey. By the way, he was never it's all allegations. We're not sure what's going on. I'm making jokes. Do not hit me for a liable lawsuit. I feel like you're the kind of guy who actually would sue. That being said, I love SGA. I love his game. I loved his game at Kentucky, right? But it's different. Kelsey's favorite player, Anthony Edwards, is just different. And last night, dude busted his ankle up. He's gone for half a quarter, comes back, drops another 15 or 12 in the second half. And I'm just sitting there yep, all right. He's a 1A player. We finally got one. First one since Kevin Garnett. We're good. It's a different. And also, I knew this kid was going to be special when he hits a 3 in LeBron's face and goes like this as a rookie. I was like, yep. All right, sold. Give him the keys to the kingdom. Him and our overly tan new owner Alex Rodriguez. Just give him the keys.
Way too tan. I feel like he has done an incredible job of growing his game too, which I wasn't sure how much he would grow, especially the last few years, but he has got 90 degrees vertical. It's been awesome. Seeing transcend. I think
his defense has improved. I'm just damn, dude.
He's not locking people up, but they're not scoring on him easily. Nothing comes cheap or easy with him. I think him, SGA, Luka, Jason Tatum, a lot of these guys in 5 years when Steph's and LeBron's and KD's leave, there's a lot of really good talented players around.
I think Tatum missed his window. That's my issue with him.
I
think now he's kind of fallen behind the Embiids, the SGAs, the Edwards, because now the Celtics are good because they have the best big 3 in basketball, or one of the best big 3s, where Porzingis is their 3. He's their Chris Bosh.
They got Drew Holiday on that team too.
Exactly.
That's
I'm waiting for them to go get the ghost of Lemon Pepper Lou. They pull these guys out of nowhere, and they just they're beating everybody. But then again, the East is booty right now until Embiid comes back. The Cavs are in second place. Shit.
Hold on now. The Cavs have been damn good this year. Donovan Mitchell should be in that MVP conversation.
Don Mitch and Garland and all them boys, they play great. But here's the thing. This is how forgettable they are. I forgot Colin Sexton wasn't on that roster.
Well, that's on you. That's because you've been too busy not watching basketball till Anthony Edwards.
No, I don't watch the Eastern Conference. The only team that's fun to me to watch the Eastern Conference is the fucking Magic. I love shout out to our boys over on the Belly Up Sports who do the Magic podcast. But dude, the Orlando Magic are fun. Van Caro and them, Cole Anthony and them boys are actually enjoyable to watch. Where it's when Minnesota got to play them, it was on TNT or something. I was like, all right, I'll watch this. They're playing Memphis tonight. Besides Ja trying to threaten to shoot somebody, there's not much entertainment there.
Well, luckily Ja's out for the season, so he's not shooting.
Yeah, exactly. From the bench, he's trying to make shots from the bench. Get it?
Start shooting often as a guy again.
Also, see if Jaren Jackson Jr. and Karl Anthony Towns getting a fist fight again.
I don't think that one's going Karl Anthony Towns' way. I like that more than you do, but I'm not picking him winning fist fights now.
I don't think he's going to win a fist fight against Mike Conley Jr., who's 1,000.
I was like, hold on now. Mike Conley Jr.'s got that OG gangster in him now too. He's got that.
Bro, he was playing back with the old man himself, Greg Oden, back in 2007. He's old, man.
He's playing with Zebo Zach Randolph in the day as well too. He knows a thing or two.
Right. I forgot about he was with Zebo.
I like Anthony Edwards a lot. I think his game has grown incredibly, and who knows? I think especially because he's got a little bit of that go F yourself to him sometimes too when he talks. You talk about waving the hand in the face. I think that's going to help him propel him to superstardom a little bit too. I think he's going to become more mainstream with that.
His attitude comp is like Jimmy Butler mixed with like a little bit of Mike, where you're just like, he don't
Steve Wallace in there.
Maybe a little Sheed, a little Larry Bird, where he's just like, his attitude just doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'm just gonna fuck you up. Like, that's what it is. Like Snoop Dogg said it best. He's like, he was on, I think it was on All That Smoke or something. He was just like, that little homie from Minnesota or the little goon from Minnesota, he'll just dunk on you. He don't care. He don't care about your mama in the crowd. He'll just go right at you. I was like, Ant just doesn't care. He just goes right at. The lack of fear is what makes him so elite.
Exactly. He's got a different level of confidence, and he's not. It's awesome. I still think he will be at his best when Rudy Gobert is not taking up position in this paint, but I digress. That doesn't mean he's still not awesome. But I think if you take Rudy Gobert out of the paint so he can run and go dunk on people without two towers in the way, he's going to average 40. Maybe not 40, but he's going to average 35.
I'll take the 28 with Gobert's 10 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 blocks.
Yeah, you can get that from Cat too.
What are you smoking?
He came out as a defender. That was what he came out as. He just hasn't.
Yeah, he got lazy.
Yeah,
it's like Kardashian curse, man. I don't play defense after that.
Well, you know what? There's nothing I can do about that. I mean, sometimes it comes undone. So we got to hope for the best for Karl-Anthony Towns' sake on that one. But that's going to do it here on the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you, Jared, for joining us. Before we let you go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at.
You can find me and the motley crew of minions over at the Kornerbooth Pod. You see the Wizard of Weird, Mr. Chris Lipoff, and of course this Mr. Slickback, cool man himself, Jake Smigglesworth, aka Matt Ordazzo. We are always live every Thursday at 7 to 8:30. DJ, of course, is a regular, if not a resident, on that Thursday show. So is Kelsey. We also do shows Mondays and Tuesdays, mostly during the off season between March and August. They're obviously intermittent where we take a day or two off, but Thursdays we're always live. Football season, obviously we're batting down the hatches. Every day is a new day with a headline, but you can find us at Everything Kornerbooth Pod on all things X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, if that's still a thing. And I think I still share shit to it. I just don't know if it gets a traction or not. And I have to make the joke always that or you can find Chris on his Kornerbooth OnlyFans.
Oh, jeez.
But that being said, you can find me at Kornerbooth Jared, or because Elon's a pain in the ass, I'm changing my name, Belly Up Jared. And yeah, Deej, thank you for having me as always.
Always a pleasure.
Always appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Can't wait for the NFL Combine. It's one of my favorite times of the year, even though it's not an official season. It's a
Underwear
season.
Olympics. Here we go.
What we live for here. Draft season is finally upon us. We appreciate you all for joining us here this Wednesday evening and for checking us out on one of your later places to catch podcasts. And we will see you all again next week.